everyone, and welcome to another episode of Soul Talk. I see that Colin was grooving to the music. We have a very special day today with my very special guest, Colin, my host on the Ultimate Schmodown After Show. How you doing today?
Fantastic. It has been one heck of a week. I am officially first wave vaccinated.
Woo!
Let's party.
I can't wait till I get my first shot. I am currently the only one in my household who has not gotten the shot yet, and it's a little unfair, but hopefully I can
It's a
get one
very
soon.
safe place to be, though.
Right, it is a very safe place to be at the moment. And my parents today get their second shot, and I think in a few weeks my little brother gets his second, and then it was just like, oh, we'll have a COVID-free house, even though I'm not vaccinated yet.
Play the music again.
Yes. But today we're going to be discussing 3 topics. They are going to be pretty spoilery, so if you have not read Saga, you have not watched Falcon and Winter Soldier, or you have not watched the Justice League, we're going to be spoiling. Go leave, go do those things, come back, and join us in this conversation. Make sure you put comments below to tell us what you think about each of the things that we're talking about. So, Colin, let's take it away. Let's talk about Saga. What's your favorite thing about this comic book?
Story to me on a very deep level because of how these two find each other and why they find each other. It's actually extremely similar to how me and my girlfriend, initially formed a bond. We formed a bond over Harry Potter and our love for it, and how it's like it just overtook our childhoods, and that was what it all was, and that's exactly what happens here with Alana and Marco. That's literally their story. They fall in love, albeit she was not my jail keeper, but other than that, it's basically the same story.
So we have these 2 characters, Alana and Marco. They are from warring planet and a moon. And the moon orbits around the planet, and therefore they have outsourced their civil war off to other planets. So they're making their conflict other people's problems. And Marco, part of the moon wreath, and that it orbits around the planet called Landfall. Lana's from Landfall, Marco's from Wreath, and he's in jail and she's her warden, and they just start talking about a book that both of them really, really enjoy, and they fall in love. And then things keep going forward.
Well, that's not where they start, which I think is the most beautiful part of this story, which actually begins with their daughter and her telling the story as she understands it, which I think is very important. It's very important. And she is writing on the page in this very soft writing, this very soft, gentle, I think it's cursive even. And it's her birth, which I think is just But the first words of this comic, and here you go, because here's the conversation we're going to be having is, am I shitting? It feels like I'm shitting.
And Ben, if you could pull up that picture, we have it lined up.
Is liftoff in my treehouse rocket ship from day one. This is the best start to a story ever. It is so good. And it just totally lets you know what you're in store for. The whole thing breaks down. It gives you the Star Wars scroll and the crawl text in effect, but more beautifully and elegantly done.
And as you can see in this picture, so the text that's not in bubbles, that is Hazel speaking her story as she understands it, the way Colin said. And then the ones in bubble, there's Alana right there at the very beginning. Am I shitting? And I was like, okay, this is where we're going in. We're starting right at Hazel's birth. And man,
this is how an idea becomes real. It's so good.
Yeah. And the thing too is Hazel's birth and first few days of life wasn't too easy for her or her parents.
I mean, how could it be? These people do not want this baby to exist. This baby's existence defies everything that these planets believe in. So to me, the idea that they're she's not supposed to be, but they're going to do everything in their power so she can. What else do you want?
And it's that formation of having someone like Hazel who represents both of their cultures, is that they are so stringently about peace and wanting things to be better for both of their communities. And that's why I say this is kind of like a Romeo and Juliet meets Star Wars, because it is a giant space epic that you go from planet to planet. And then like meets like a little bit of Star Trek, because you have that utopian idea that just they haven't been able to mesh yet. It's just a combination of all like great things.
I love like how it almost does it swerves you in volume 3 when it shows the perspective of the tabloid journalists Upshur and Doff, and that it's a bigger world. It's an even bigger world than you thought it was. It's bigger than just the Will and Lion Cat coming after you guys because they're contract killers. Like, it's different than that. And now it just keeps getting if their message got out, it's the end of both of those of the whole war. And now the war is never going to stop. They know that it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger until it infests all the other planets. And I think it'd also be good for us. Like, I just love like how like true these two are to each other. You do not see that very often. Up to a point. There is a point where Alana, kind of dives off the deep end, and Marco talks to a teacher for a little too long. But it's so beautifully done. You believe why both of them do it in the moment. You empathize with them in moments where that would usually be like reasons for people to like not like a character. But you're like, well, life is kind of shitty, Alana. I would probably take those drugs too.
Yeah, and it's showing, it's not sugarcoating anything in this story. It's showing you the real hard life of being parents, being in love with someone, and that it's not always easy, and just also living through wartime and what it's like to not. These are both people who are soldiers from their respective planets and moon, that they do have that PTSD. They do have that, I don't want to be in this fight anymore. Why is this thing still going on? And so you have all of these like political intrigue and all of these aspects in this story that just makes it so good. It's like Brian K. Vaughan, Fiona Staples, how did you do this? How did you do this?
How perfectly. Like, just perfectly. I don't know how else to like break this whole thing down, because this is just we're talking about this because it's coming back. It's officially been announced that the hiatus is over. It's been on hiatus since 2018, and since then, and this is unbelievable stuff, this book in its many different forms, in its floppies and in its compendiums like the one I have,
I have all the trade paperbacks.
Yeah, all of those.
Yeah.
It's outsold The Walking Dead. Incredible. Yeah. Like, just... And Brian's committed. It'll never see the light of day in any other medium. It'll never be a cartoon. It'll never be a movie. Because you could never do it.
He's like, I gotta die first before this happens.
For real. Yeah. And then you better let me do it.
Mm-hmm. And what we know too is that it's only halfway done. He told us that at the time that they went on their hiatus, they said it's only halfway done. They left us with a cliffhanger. The moment where you're just like, no, I need more of the story. What are you doing? Why'd you end it here?
The ultimate cliffhanger.
Yeah, that last page. And you find out too, I love the gray area of all the characters in this, especially someone like the Will. Because what he does at the end of the last volume, at the last chapter of this comic, you kind of want to be like, I will never forgive you. But at the same time, you've seen, and Sophie, the little girl that he saves from what is it, Sextillion, I think is the name of the planet.
Yep.
And this little girl was basically a refugee taken into custody by this planet and was a sex worker at the age of 6 years old and forced to do that kind of work. And pretty much he goes to Sextillion. He's walking through. The guy's like, oh, I have something nice for you. Goes, it seems like your ex was a real badass bitch kind of character. Let me get you someone nice and soft. And introduces him to the 6-year-old. And he tells her, close your eyes, and like fucking smashes his head. And like, how the hell are you going to tell me to go have sex with a child? And so he rescues her. And you see later in the comic, a few chapters later, that there's this character called Lying Cat. So anytime you say something that is not true, the cat goes lying. And that's the only word that the cat says. And like the little girl is going, I'm disgusting for everything that I had to do. Like I'm not good enough or anything. And the cat, she's laying on the cat and the cat's going lying. And that scene was probably the part of this book that broke my heart, because I was just like, this girl is finally accepting that even though her shitty ass past, she can go forward, and that she has someone like the Will and Lying Cat to be there for her. And then the Will does what he does later on to another character that we all love. And it's just like, man, these great characters that you root for and love and hate all at the same time.
This is too... It's too perfect in a way that I like. It's hard to break it down because the story of Sophie overlapping with the Will, and then like his interactions with the Stalk and everything going on in his world. You can't help but how I see this with Sophie and Hazel, and just this overwhelming sense that those paths are going to cross on the wrong day at the wrong time. And it takes me to a moment in an anime recently where somebody didn't know, this is very, very, very non-spoilery, a character did not know they were revealing to another character that they were the ones that murdered their lover. And the person's like, oh, wait, who did you kill? It's just going to be like that moment where it's just going to be like, wait, your dad did... Wait, your dad? He's your dad? That's what the conversation is going to be.
Yeah.
This is my dad, the Will. Your dad. Oh. Or they're going to be friends, and it's going to be like even worse.
Yeah. I can see it happening. I can see. And then the stuff with Gwendolyn as well. The fact, too, at the very beginning, and these are two people that are in love, Marco and Alana, but when he's dying or about to die at the very beginning, he shouts out Gwendolyn's name. And that's his ex-fiance.
That's a no-no.
Yeah.
Can't do that. That's, what is it? In Half-Blood Prince, Ron says Hermione.
Yeah.
Not, my girl.
What's
her? Lavender Brown.
Lavender.
Poor girl.
Yeah.
Heartbroken at the age of 16. What are you going to do? But, I mean, she's... That's his first love. I mean, in a sense, and we know how romantic Marco is. So
yeah,
hard to imagine him letting go of someone.
How romantic, how much of a pacifist he is. Just like the words that he speaks. No wonder Lana fell in love with him. No wonder Gwendolyn fell in love with him.
Yeah, that's true. It's hard to imagine like how I would just love to, some stories will take any avenue you can to rip the story apart from every angle. I need, like, before Marco was in prison, like, a lot of it. Like, I want a
Yeah.
lot of it. You can give me any form of that you want. I want to see full going the F off, like, just crushing it, Marco. And we see it a
Yeah.
few times, and it's nice to
Yeah.
see it a few times, but he does not like it. And I want to see him when he liked it. That, to me,
Mm-hmm.
is like, that's a character I'd like to know more about. And obviously, sorry, everyone. It's so well. We said spoilers. So,
We
I
said
mean,
spoilers, so let's
poor
go
fucker
for
got
it.
stabbed in the heart by the will, and like, what are you gonna do about it? And it's the last panel of the fucking book. Like, oh my
Before
god.
hiatus, before this 3-year plus hiatus.
What's the
That's
line?
the last thing.
He says, or she says. Nope, nope.
But
She says,
and
not
you can
everybody does. I guess it's.
and you can see it too in Hazel telling the story throughout when she talks about the will. She talks about the will in a way that like makes him seem very evil. And then you see the will protecting Sophie and then taking a liking to Gwendolyn and doing good things that you're like, oh, why is the will portrayed as so evil in Hazel's writing when she's writing her part of the story? And then you're like, oh, it's because it killed her dad.
Yeah. She does not care for him. It's just extremely unfortunate. And she is one of the most interesting characters in comics right now. I cannot wait to see what the next 54 issues hold for Hazel. Like, it is, the sky's the limit. You can do anything you want, and she has the potential to be one of the all-time great characters that you truly see the entire span of their life in a epic story like this, and how rare it is to see that. I mean, it goes up there with like Harry Potter. Like, it really does. Like, it's like a
She's
true,
the chosen one.
yeah, like like, you gotta,
She's Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of everything you want. It tackles all the nerddoms. I mean, this show is just too right on the money to not. It just show like the show would be like, it would just have to be Adult Swim or HBO Max, or like, this is R rated. You just have to get over it. Sometimes it's NC-17. It could just get the TVMA and throw it on HBO.
I mean, you have like, there's a panel where you have this giant monster like dick out and everything, like, and then that's just like you're going through the panels. You're like, oh, this is where we're at. And I feel that if this was to ever be adapted, it'd probably have to be an adult cartoon, and it would have to be like on HBO as an adult cartoon, because I think HBO would probably have the funding to be able to do it right.
HBO is the only place I trust it.
Yeah.
Plus, I mean, we got freaking floating ghosts and.
Yeah. And that's another very sad story too in this is Isabel.
Isabel's one of the unsung heroes of this story. And her story teaches Hazel how to deal with loss. Like, and it prepares her, like, it's what's going to make her, it could make her colder. Like, oh, what's next? My mom? Well, I kind of already lost her once. I didn't know if I was going to see her again. Yeah. So I'm just going to go now. Bye. I just want to know. I just can't wait to see where she goes. Everything with Robot. I mean, talk about Robot for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy has a freaking TV for a head. And if he thinks too hard, he'll show you how he's feeling on a TV screen. And if he wants to mate with you, he'll show you just how he wants to. And I just think that's one of like the wildest things. I mean, the first time you see the dude, he's just banging.
Yeah, his wife. And then like something comes on the TV and you're like, that is not sex related, and you're like, Oh.
What's happening here?
Yeah.
The hell are y'all doing? Y'all all got TV heads? Because I remember I heard, and shout out to the sweatiest of them all up there, John Schnepp, first recommended Saga on Heroes, Collider Heroes back in the day. I was like, okay. Because I knew Brian K. Vaughan's name. So I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And I got the first volume from a comic shop by my college. And I had a hard time getting through it the first time. But then once you get through that first volume and there's nothing left and you don't have any more of the story, boy, I've never moved faster in my life to a comic book store. Fortunately, they didn't have it. I had to go to Barnes and Noble. I was like, y'all, I don't understand. It was something else, man. Like, that was the first time I read it. And you see Robot, you're just like, what in the... I could just sit there and go off on Robot for like how crazy the whole story is.
I will tell you when Volume 3 was coming out. It was about to go sold out, so I made my friend go buy it from the comic book store while I was still working at McDonald's. And then she came through the drive-thru and handed me the comic through the drive-thru because I was working the window.
Oh, that's pretty impressive.
That was how much I was just like, I need this next book.
Wow, so, like at the drive-thru.
Yeah.
Good for you. That's what's up. I mean, what more do you have to say about this book without like us sitting here and going through it for like 3 hours?
Right. Which we might need to do on another show. Is just do a saga like,
or just volume by volume.
Yeah. But any final thoughts on Saga? What are you hoping to see when this hiatus is over?
I'm excited to see where we pick up. Is it like The Last Jedi, or is it like The Empire Strikes Back? Like, you know, where do we pick up the story? Is it years? Is it minutes? Is it months? Days later? All those different moments where you can start it, take the journey in drastically different directions.
Sure.
So, really, I'm just excited to see like how this all affects Hazel, because really this is her story, and for me, as long as she's happy, I mean, I'm happy.
As long as her and Sophie are happy, I'm happy.
Yeah. Until one of them makes the other one not happy, and then Brian is gonna make me choose, and then we're gonna have issues.
And then we're all going to cry together.
Yes, it will be a collective group cry.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah, I still don't know if I want it to be immediately after or if I want it to be years later. I have a feeling that it's going to be years later, and we're going to see maybe like a teenager Hazel.
Like
badass teenager Hazel when we come back. So, Brian K. Vaughan, Fiona Staples with that artwork. You guys are doing amazing. Take as much time as you need to create this story because it has been perfect. And I mean perfect so far. And I can't wait to see what you guys do with it.
Protect Goose at all costs.
100%. 100%. So now we're going to go into Falcon and Winter Soldier, baby. This has been a real, a week. This has been a week. We ended with WandaVision, going into Falcon and Winter Soldier. Overall thoughts so far on this first episode?
One, other shows, I will take 6 episodes if they're 50 minutes long. This is just true. I will take them all 6. You could just do them in less. I don't care. This was so good. It was so evenly paced. It felt like the entire first season of Daredevil wrapped up in one. And I'm just waiting for the two of them to meet. I know that the text is coming. Hey, I just need to call my friend Sam and talk to him because he's my only friend. And actually, I'm more interested in what your opinions are on the man at the end, U.S. agent. I want to know what your thoughts are on that questionable attire that he was wearing.
Yeah, I think
that's certainly not America's ass.
That's certainly not America's ass. I think it was a collective. I think I could hear it across the world at the same time going, the fuck?
But spelled D-A space
F-U-K.
No, Q.
Q.
The fuck?
The fuck?
Like, what?
So I, given a little background, so I did not plan to see this at 3 a.m. in the morning because that's when it drops for us over here on the East Coast. Did not plan for that. I ended up hanging out with friends, and then it just happened to be 3 a.m. And so we said, let's watch it all together. Oh, and so we watched it and then stayed up the entire night, like talking about that and other things. So I had no sleep on Falcon and Winter Soldier Eve, I guess you could call it.
Right. So and Thursday night you stayed up till 3:00 and then maybe got like 2 hours of sleep.
I got 0 hours of sleep. Like I stayed up the entire after that. Like
I haven't done that in a minute. Good for you.
And it was not planned, but I will say that because I know I wasn't the only one watching it when it dropped across the world. It was a collective the fuck.
Right.
Yeah, and two, like his ears, like it didn't fit his face, like his ears were popping out. And then I remember my friend messaging me, like, who the fuck is this white guy?
Well,
white guys always got to ruin everything, right?
Why's the white guy got to ruin everything, man? But I love the story for Sam.
Mm-hmm.
It's poignant, and it's important for Marvel to tell it. They wear their soapbox. Never been bigger.
Excelsior.
The screen's smaller, but the soapbox is bigger. So now we're going to tell you a real story that you need to hear right now. How many people in America probably don't know how hard it is for a person of color to get a loan in these United States? Regardless of if they're an Avenger, right? Like it's almost like I thought of like the perfect metaphor for Sam in the real world is the college athlete who doesn't go pro and comes home and has to like figure out life. There's a lot of like things where like people can feel that same kind of sense of like life didn't work out the way you thought it was going to, and now you're like got to kind of deal with what you're dealt with. Sam's situation is so relatable to so many people, and it not just Sam, but like his sisters, his families, the whole situation where you don't want to give up on your legacy, but at the same time you have to do what's right. And he's the hero, and she says that to him. The superhero is coming back in to save the day again. That's what you always do. You come in and save the day. And he can't fly his way out of this.
Yeah. And you kind of get at the beginning, you get this awesome action scene that you're like, okay, this is where we're going. And like, it's so amazing. But then the rest of, even though there's action and there's a few things in the rest of the episode, it's mostly just these guys' stories. And it was so real life and so relatable. Trying to get a loan, saving your family business, going to therapy. The Bucky saying, other than my short stint in Wakanda, I have been fighting for 90 years. That breaking your heart. Him going on a date and being super awkward. And like when he was hanging out with that older guy, I was just like, oh, is that one of his friends from when he was back then?
That's what I thought.
And then I was just like, oh, it's not. It's the father of someone he killed when he was Winter Soldier. And that just breaks your heart. Speaking of like saga with the Will killing Marco, this is a good guy who did something bad, and I'm sure when he finally tells him the truth, it's gonna be heartbreaking.
But I think he'll understand if he tells him the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Tell him your entire story.
Yeah.
You deserve that. You deserve. Bucky's been through so much. He deserves to share his feelings with someone he doesn't have to pay. Like, no offense to therapy, but like, he deserves to have some friends. Like him and Sam don't really know each other that well. Mm-hmm. Like, to be real, like, they really don't. They acquaintances with Steve, and who's on the moon, I guess. And it's just so, it's so true. It's just so true. I love it.
And then I do want to shout out Marvel for the diversity that we have in this season. I know I've spoken a lot off camera about that our only Latino in the MCU really is Luis. And as much as I love Luis, and I want him to do a full Infinity Saga like explanation in the way that he does in the Ant-Man 1 and 2, his explanations are hilarious to me. But he is a stereotype. And that's not really a great representation of Latinos. And so it was nice to see Torres as and it's nice to see like a little bit more representation that is not a stereotype. So good on you, Marvel. Still can have more Latinos, but keep bringing them in. Keep bringing them in.
Do you know who he is?
Yes, I know who he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not the actor, the character.
Yes.
Okay, so do you know like the comic origin? Like how he gets basically like gene spliced with a falcon and wings. Has like real wings for arms? Yeah. Okay, if they do that, I'm like, Kevin Feige, take it all. You see all these Funkos? Take it all. Like, you can have every bit of thing I'm worth in this world. Because that's like, you thought I was ballsy on Guardians. Boy, you don't know anything. Like, these shows are just constantly proving this guy is... What can't he do? So, like, name a random Marvel project.
Ooh. All of them, I'm like, he's going to do that. He's going to do America Chavez. That's happening.
Yep.
Trying to think of a really, like, weird one. Weirdly, like, funny enough, like, the weirdest character, comic book character to me, but it's DC, is Condiment Man. So if he could go over in DC, he could even do that. He could somehow find a way to do Condiment Man, like, as the DC villain. But, oh man, I'm trying to think the weirdest Marvel character, and I am drawing a blank right now.
Well, the one that bounces out to me was, like, Devil Dinosaur.
Yes.
Like, that would be it.
Because I know Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck.
Okay, well, they did Howard the Duck.
Yeah, they did.
And now I've just been waiting because they paid Seth Green, and Seth Green isn't cheap. Like, so bring Seth Green back. Like, that movie sucks, but, like, not Guardians. Like, the original Howard the Duck is highly questionable.
And he has sex with a female woman. Can I make that podcast
idea? I'm just gonna, like, claim this on the internet right now. I'm gonna make, like, a podcast about bad movies that you can watch, and it's highly questionable. And it's gonna be based off my favorite line from Tarzan, which is this water sanitary? Looks highly questionable to me. Like, tipping the toe in the water. Nothing's cuter than the babies in Tarzan. Did you watch the Tarzan show?
Yes.
Yes, like, that's way better than the movie. Like, the only thing missing from that show is the Phil Collins soundtrack.
But oh man, you're bringing me back. You're bringing me back to childhood right there. But I think this show, I loved both parts. I will say that Bucky's part spoke to me a little bit more. but both parts spoke to me a lot. The fact too that we have just at the end of, we knew it was going to happen. We all knew that U.S. Agent was going to be the government's pick for being Captain America because they don't want a black man to be Captain America. And we all knew it was going to happen. And still, when it happened, everyone's just like, fuck this guy. Like, there's audible, like, the people I was watching with, it was just an audible, like, ugh, no.
If you know it's coming, it's easier. If you don't know it's coming, you're like, again, da fuck. Like, it's still a da fuck moment. But you're like, oh, okay. Because you almost believe the politician. He's like, you're doing your country a good service, Sam. Thank you for turning in the shield. You're like, okay, cool, thanks, bud. And then it's like, oh, was it a good idea?
It's the same guy who introduced. And to me, did you think when he was putting the shield into that box, my first thought was like, oh man, this shield is gonna get stolen.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
That was my first thought.
Okay.
And then and I said it out loud too, and I was like, I didn't get stolen. That's just that asshole at the end gives it to the white guy. I'm gonna just call him the white guy.
Yeah, that bad white guy. Just bad, not bad.
He's not a bad mamma jamma. He's just bad.
So let's talk about the villains that we got in this episode. The people with the masks. They want a world without borders. They want things to go back the way they were during the blip. Kind of with them. I don't want Canada and the United States to be discussing what to do when Galactus shows up. No offense, Planet Earth. I think this is going to inspire the conversation for the Illuminati.
Ooh.
Like, they aren't wrong.
Yeah.
We need different from S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, because S.H.I.E.L.D. is corruptible.
Yeah.
The Illuminati is essentially incorruptible.
And Sword is corruptible.
Easily. There are scrolls everywhere. You can't trust a soul. Except
and the Flag Smashers too, they're giving them, and this is what I love about what Kevin Feige is doing to these characters. So when we had Thanos for the Infinity Saga, like in the book, basically the reason he wants to snap half of the world is to get...
He wants to bone.
He wants to bone Lady Death. He wants to get in those pants. Like,
remember in 2012 when you actually thought you were going to watch that movie one day? Because he says, like, to challenge Earth is to court death. And you're like, oh, shit!
He's about to court
subtitles. Watch the subtitles. It's a capital fucking D. Like, they're not playing around. Like, it's there. It's captions canon. We've learned this from The Mandalorian and from WandaVision. Always trust the captions and video descriptions. They're never wrong. They're put in there and they're passed by the directors. So they know exactly what they're putting in there.
And the fact too, so you have that, and then you have this guy who basically he's an eco-terrorist is basically what Thanos is. And so you can kind of get behind a little bit of what he was saying, even though you're like, that's not the way I would do it.
My dad did 20 minutes stand-up on why Thanos was right on a trip we were on one day. He was like, he's not wrong. I'm like, all right, cool, but like, shut up, Dad.
And then now the Flag Smashers, you're like, these are the villains, but in a sense, they're not wrong.
Well, she's the girl from Solo too.
Yeah, she's Enfys Nest, so she's being typecast. Yeah.
We need you to be a rebellious, badass girl. I got you.
Yeah.
Hook, line, sinker. So, do you think? I mean, because in the comics, Flag Smasher is just a man. So, do you think there's a man, or is this a group? Is there a man behind the group?
I think it's a group. And I think Enfys Nest might be the leader of said group, but I think it's just a group.
And I think what was interesting was that if you watch the episode back, Torres tags the guy who drops down with the money as the leader, and not her who hands out the masks to everyone. And that's a classic Marvel diversion of, you don't know who our villain is. And we're like, yes, we do. We always know who your villain is. You can't pull the wool over us. Like, have you read a comic book? You could probably guess that they're the villain. But they did it more subtly this time. They hid her behind the mask. It wasn't overtly like...
some people didn't even catch her. I was like, oh, Infus Nest was in that episode. And people were like, wait, she was? And I was like, yeah, it was real quick.
I saw that. Well, her hair is so distinct.
Yeah, her
she
hair.
has so many freckles. She's the first person in my life I've ever found more freckles on her face than my little brother. I thought he was the only person who had that many freckles, and she beat him. So that's very impressive. I'm excited to see her like get to like take the mask off. Like, no offense, Disney. Like, I hope you're preparing this girl to be like the lead of a franchise one day, where she's like face front, because you keep putting her underneath heavy armor and tiny hockey masks. Like, let's see this girl's face and let's see her act, and let's go, because she's fantastic. I can't wait to see how do we really get into this story? How does that story link up with U.S. Agent? Like, what are the converging points there? I imagine Zemo has something to do with the Flag Smashers. Maybe not U.S. Agent, but if he does, I wouldn't be surprised. Because Baron Zemo has been my most anticipated villain in the MCU.
Well, you see Zemo's on the list that Bucky has. So that's going to happen. Sam's going to team up with Bucky, as we know just from
the name of the show.
The name of the show, the promotional materials. So that's probably going to be the cross with Zemo there. Zemo might do something that goes against an American law or something, and you're going to have this
He'll
fake
go against the Sokovia Accords, probably.
Yeah, probably go against the Sokovia Accords. You're going to have White Cap, which is funny because...
He's going to lose to Zemo, and then they're going to have to call the boys.
Exactly. And then you're going to have, I think, Flag Smashers and Zemo, even though they're both the villains, I think they're going to be villains on two separate coins. They're not going to gel together. So I think it's going to be that kind of thing where you have two separate villains, but the villains don't agree with each other and are each other's villains as well.
Yeah, which is how, like, the Flag Smashers may, like, dissolve. Or, like, why? Like, because they're like, this guy's kind of crazy. Let's get that guy. I'll attack.
Yeah. I could see, too, like, the Flag Smashers trying to recruit someone like Zemo. And then Zemo will be like, nah, I'm not about that life.
I have a question for you. Have you watched Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes?
I have not.
Okay. That's your homework.
Okay.
It has prepared me to never be surprised by anything the MCU has done. I've known Kang was coming to the MCU for 6 years. Based off the fact that fucking show has nailed everything else. The only thing that's different between that show and this and the MCU is that Hank Pym was Ant-Man.
Okay.
And that Janet's the Wasp, and they're in the original team.
Okay. Original costumes?
Yeah, like, it's pretty good.
Okay.
Like, not gonna lie, it's pretty good, and it's probably got the best opening theme song of a superhero show. I have a hot take. I think it gives X-Men a run for its money.
Ooh, heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, it's a banger. So good that I made a video that I lost of that soundtrack playing over the battle for New York.
Oh, wow.
And
you just have
slaps.
to redo it. Yeah, more work on that's your homework. You got to redo that.
It's really, it showed everything from Ultron, everything with Black Panther, like how Black Panther would show up. Like, he shows up on his own because of, everything that's going on. They do, They do everything. They literally tackle every single story you could possibly want the Avengers to tackle, and the only thing that's different is their team up story. It's Gravitron, I think is his name. He's like a former.
That sounds like a Transformer.
Graviton. I don't know. They did it in Agents of Shield. Yeah, Graviton. I wasn't so
okay.
Graviton, and so he's like a disgruntled ex-Shield scientist, and messes with gravitonium, which is like some space metal or some shit. And he basically manipulates gravity, so he can change like how your body reacts to gravity in a certain way. So he can make the world have a 500% gravity effect on you as opposed to the regular percent, which does not sound fun. Sounds like what Piccolo does. Yeah, it sounds like what Piccolo does to himself on a daily basis.
Yeah, that sounds like, as someone who's had knee surgery on both their knees, it sounds like not a lot of fun. Just gravity, weight. But any final thoughts on this episode? What you'd like to see in the next episode? I think they're teaming up, but at the very end. I think they're still going to be separate, which I liked of this first episode, but I think they team up at the end of episode 2.
I was like, I thought you meant the end of the show.
No. End of episode. No, episode 2. I'm talking about episode 2,
yes, I think we will see the last 20 minutes of episode 2. I think, okay, so I love to like, and I hate that I do it, but in the back of my mind, I'm like putting together the trailers into like, how much of this have they released? Because I know how Marvel releases stuff. And as soon as the movie comes out, they release more footage that they haven't released, because now they're like, oh, people have seen the movie. We want to get them to come back and remember that thing that they liked in the movie. Now, these shows, the only scene from the finale of WandaVision, and spoilers for that show, spoilers obviously for the whole MCU, but was we're going to protect our home. When she says, this is our home, and Vision says, well, then we'll protect it. That's the last episode. That was the only scene from the last episode that was in the original marketing. Everything else was from the first 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as the show started coming out, then you got the stuff from 4, 5, and 6, because the show gets bigger. This show, I think we've only seen stuff from the first 2 episodes. So my point in bringing this up is the scene we've seen of Zemo walking up to what I believe is going to be a memorial in Sokovia. And he's going to, the camera angle is a low push up on him. It starts at foot angle and pushes up and then pulls back to see the statue. And I think as he steps over, we're going to see the crater. I think we're going to see the crater, and he's going to look over it, and it's just, that's going to be our introduction to Zemo, and then he's going to put his plan into action. I think his plan will get put into place at episode 2, then he fights U.S. Agent at episode 3, whereas we're going to deal with the Flag Smashers in episode 2 with Bucky and Sam, because I guess it's Torres or whatever calls Falcon, because he's not done. He's not going to not be Falcon. He's not like he's retiring for being Falcon when he does all that stuff. He's retired for being Cap, because he still goes on the mission with him later in the thing, and he calls him and he FaceTimes him. It was so cute. It was so buddy. Like, he's like, I need you to get on a secure line. Hold on, let me go get on my sister's Windows while you call me on your iPhone. Real secure, my dude. Real secure.
Yeah. And I just know, too, that we're going to see Torres be Falcon. Whether he's going to be Falcon with real wings or fake wings, we'll see.
I don't care.
But we're going to see Torres be Falcon.
Because Red Wing's a real bird in the comics.
Yes.
That's the thing. Where it's like, okay, you made him a robot. Now, can we make this dude a dude, though? Can we make this dude a bird? Like, Kevin, make this dude a bird. Like, Kevin's a bird? Like, yes, like, Kevin, make this dude a bird, please. Because I need I don't know why it would happen. It shouldn't happen. It won't happen. He's gonna get Riley. That's a 5-point Schmodown question, by the way. He's gonna get Riley's suit.
Yeah.
His former partner. He's gonna get his former partner's suit, and they're gonna fly a couple times. Well, in the comics, Sam never drops the wings.
No, he keeps the wings.
He's
capped with the wings.
Yeah, it's lit. I got that
No,
comic.
yeah. That comic cover.
Issue 1. I got
that
issue
cover
1 in there.
Sick.
It is dope. And guess who comes in at the end of issue 1 of that comic? U.S. Agent.
Yep.
Boom. So as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, I knew that like 5 years ago. This is cool.
And the fact too that Falcon was like that with that douchey lone guy.
Okay, we got to talk about that. Like we kind of talked about that a little bit, but
yeah,
he's unapologetically savage. Like that dude.
Like, I'ma just take a selfie, not ask you. I'm also gonna say, oh, Tony Stark, didn't he pay you? Sorry for your loss. Sorry, not sorry, kind of.
Not just sorry for your loss, but then he's like, no, it's usually off of people's goodwill. He's like, fuck your goodwill. Yeah.
And why does this seem like something that the banks would actually do? Like, oh, you don't have 5 years of income. How could he didn't exist? That would happen. That would happen.
That's such a Stan Lee and Jack Kirby storyline.
Yeah.
That is Stan Lee to the fucking nails. Like, oh my God, Peter Parker is trying so hard to get approved for a new car so he can impress Mary Jane, but he needs help, like, paying off a bill, and so he helps, like, Harry with something. He's like, Harry, I need your help, but I feel guilty coming to you for money. So he's got to, like, bail him out, or he's got to, like, help Harry with something. Whatever, and then he can get the car to impress Mary Jane or something. Like, it's like so real and genuine that it really brings us back to being grounded, which is what the show has. A very grounded main character in reality. Sam is a very real character, aside from the fact that he flies around in wings. But prior to that,
when can I borrow the wings, man?
Yeah, exactly.
That part was so funny.
That's their version of Terrence Howard saying maybe next time in Iron Man 1.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
that's another Schmodown question.
Yeah, I'm just ready
played
for
Rhodey, and I'm ready. And it was nice to see Rhodey. This show, I think.
No legs though. You guys copped out on the legs. I didn't see his metal. He's like his
he's in uniform.
I know, but they waist up the whole thing. Every shot was waist up. I was specifically looking for him to walk away, and I was gonna be like, "Put them legs, Bo. Put them legs."
They probably did that on purpose. He's probably like, I don't want to have to deal with any of this green. Yeah, I don't want to have to deal with any of this green screen stuff. Just like waist up me. Just waist up me. I'm here for one day. I'm just gonna do this scene, and then I'm gonna leave.
Spoiler alert: the dude wearing the green screen pants is not in the Snyder cut. What a transition! Remember those shots from production? There was the dude in Justice League, or was it Batman v Superman? And he was in like his pants were like green screen pants, and people thought he was turning into the Green Lantern. It was, our producer Ben says it was BVS. He was wearing green screen pants. People were like, that guy's Green Lantern. It's like, he could just be on fire.
Right?
He could, genuinely.
Just because you see green doesn't mean anything.
But up in arms, and I just never forget that. But like, that to me was just like the speculation beginning, which then inspires where we are today. And so you said you watched the first little bit of it, and I sat through the entire epic. So I want to know your perspective on the tone of this. Like, please break, like, how you feel the characters. You probably at this point don't fully get to see the transformation that we see at the end with Victor Stone. It's really satisfying to see that full arc. But everyone else, you kind of do get a good sense of where they're at in that first hour and a half.
So yeah, I've only seen the first hour and a half. It's Victor and his mom just got hit by the car crash, and he's in the hospital. His dad finds out that his wife didn't make it, and that his son's not gonna make it. And then you kind of like pan, and then they're in the apartment, and the dad's going like, "You don't have to forgive me, but you need to listen to me." And then I was like, "Oh, now I got to do the show." So that's the last part that I saw.
It's so okay. I think this is a fair way to start this conversation. Your thoughts. I'll give mine first. Our initial thoughts on the original Justice League, very briefly. I didn't like the look of it because you could tell it wasn't this. There was a different like Instagram filter on that film than what we're watching, right now.
Yeah.
It's the stuff that they changed is very unnecessary. Like, I'm sure you're not going to mind not seeing Gal Gadot's body doubles boobs jiggle when she superhero lands
Flash
unnecessarily.
Landing on top of her.
Yeah, completely unnecessary. And yeah, that's not it. And I totally forgot about that. I forgot that even existed now. Like, this is,
and that's her body double. That's not her, because she said, "I will not have him land on my boobs. We're not doing that." And so that was her body double, because she refused to do that.
So
which good on her.
We're starting off on the right foot, like with this film, because the other one to me was like a 2 out of, like, it was honestly like a 3 out of 10. I was just totally unimpressed. Everything at the end, I didn't understand where they were. You could tell me that those two films ended in the same. Oh, they took out the shitty like Russian family who happened to still live in the nuclear town. No, they said it's an abandoned nuclear facility. They're like, it's abandoned. It's like in BVS. Honestly, where they mention like, oh, Stryker Island, there's nobody there. Go back there.
Honestly, though, like, if you asked me to describe anything that happened in that theatrical cut, which I did see, I can't tell you. And that shows you how shitty of a movie it was, is that it was so bad that I blocked it out of my memory. I literally was like, mind wipe. I don't need this in my head.
The ending was improved. Right, every bit of it was improved. Like, honestly, I don't mind a 4-hour movie. And it wasn't, it was separated so nicely. We watched it in chunks. We watched it in like 2.5 chunks, sort of. We took like a good little break between the first parts and then a soft break between the last bit. And
yeah, I like that it had the parts too.
Yeah,
like part
flows.
1, part 2.
Like,
yeah, it flows.
Really good. And I'm impressed. I'm not mad that we didn't get it like weekly. Kind of pissed we didn't, because to me that would have, and why the fuck would you not release that on HBO? Why the fuck would you not release that part by part, and even do that during the summer?
You're right.
If you did that during the summer, and people like my mom, people like my dad, they still watch HBO. Like, they still watch, like, for me it used to be like channel 17, but then there was like, once they moved all the HBOs, it was on channel whatever on Comcast.
I think like 301.
Yeah. And then they just kept rattling off from there. But like, they still watch those channels. Like, people that still watch those channels will still watch program television. Or like, off topic, but like the Ronan, the Pharaoh versus Allen, the Woody Allen documentary. Like, that's releasing on TV. But like, we're watching that on Sunday nights though, like on HBO Max. But like, people are watching on TV. So that's
Game of Thrones.
Yeah, Game of Thrones. Like, you can't deny that, like, that 9 o'clock HBO time slot, it don't fuck around. Like, that is appointment television for a good quantity of the people who pursue good quality, and I mean good quality content. Yeah. This is us shit around here. No offense to This Is Us, but
I've only seen the first season of it.
I don't need your emotion porn, all right? I cry over comic book movies. I don't need a TV show about emotions to drive me to emotions like some people in this country do. I understand why it's necessary for some people to like feel things. I understand that. I cry during Batman v Superman or like Justice League, like or whatever. Like I cry during anime. Like I will cry over anything. I don't need This Is Us.
So with Justice League 2, from the hour and a half that I've seen, and like the biggest complaints that I've heard is people talking about like the music videos, and I was just like, I don't mind them. Like literally, like with the Aquaman and the Norwegian or whatever people singing.
It's not
like,
a music video.
Yeah,
he's a god.
Yeah,
that's what happened. Okay, folks, if y'all don't understand this at this point, these people, it's like a Thor. Like,
yeah, it's like it's a Thor.
Like there's. Why does the legend of Thor exist? Because you know what? Maybe some dude did come down like a bolt of lightning to Norway or wherever the fuck with a huge hammer and bless people with do amazing things for them and then leave. Like maybe that's how legends begin, and this is the beginning of a legend. His dad didn't come around and do this shit. He's doing this stuff. I'm still under the very, 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 very under the assumption that Aquaman saves Clark Kent in Man of Steel. He's dead. Clark is dead. Like, water has completely filled his body at that point. He is dead. And then he gets saved by the whales, whatever, come and save him.
The whales.
The whales. The space whales from Star Wars Rebels. And he is truly he is a legend. The Aquaman. Like, that's the way Bruce talks about him. Like, there's a man comes on the king's tide. And it's like, okay, lit, I'm in. Like, it's the same thing for the first one, but better. Because
right.
Then they have this, like, I don't think he was really interpreting for the guy in the original one. At least it wasn't as good. I don't remember it being, like, the dialect being, like, if there was.
Yeah, I don't remember him, like, speaking that language either. So, like, it could have been, but that scene was really cool. The most epic scene where you're just like, I'm watching 300 right now is that fight with Darkseid with the Amazonians and then you saw Ares and
we should do a part 2 when you're done when you're done with it. We should do a part 2 in the next few weeks or whatever. Like, because I think this is a great conversation. Just talk about like all the people that are there. Zeus.
Yeah,
that's Zeus wearing the lion on the shoulder and throwing lightning bolts. Like, that is Zeus, and he's fighting on Earth against Darkseid.
And we see Ares too fighting with the good side.
Not Professor Lupin. I'm real disappointed they didn't cash out the Professor Lupin card. Like, I'm real disappointed that he wasn't in there. But not just that. The original Green Lantern.
Yeah, and you saw like the ring too, and Darkseid almost getting the ring, and then like the Amazonians like shooting, and I was just like, oh my god, what if he had gotten that ring?
I assume that would go to Abin Sur at that point. It would seem right that I don't know, like maybe there were more protectors of Earth before Abin Sur, or at least the sector of Earth, or the sector of the galaxy, but it would seem right that that'd be where it would go. However, Darkseid, like, smashing the ground.
Yeah.
So satisfying. Like, why is that animation, like, it was good when I saw it put to Hallelujah. It was even better without it. I don't know how.
It was like watching, like, an epic anime fight.
Oh my god, it really was.
What it felt like. It felt like that fight was like watching and it was a comic book splash. Like when we talk about the Endgame fight too, where it's just like that full comic book spread. Like that's what it was. And just so far, I'm really liking this. And as someone who, like, I haven't seen the director's cut, but someone who wasn't the biggest Batman v Superman fan of the theatrical cut. Edition? I have not seen the Ultimate yet.
DM Matt Thomas. He'll send you a Movie Pass link, and you can just watch it on Movies Anywhere, and he'll share it with you. It is so much better. It's so much better. The whole movie flows better. there's so many disconnects between like if memory serves, because I've seen the Ultimate Edition so many more times now than the original cut. But Clark just kind of shows up at the gala.
Yeah.
He's just kind of ends up there. No, it's like a story that he's tracking down. Like he's like really trying to get down into the depths of like why the Batman is allowed to exist. And he's doing this, like, he's branding people. They're killing the dudes in prison. Like, there's a whole scene of one of the guys, like, the guy that gets branded. You see the guy get branded in the original cut. But
you see it, but it's a short moment. It's like a kind of like
it's like, oh my God, wow, he branded the guy. That dude goes to prison. That, if you get branded by the Bat, they kill you in prison.
Oh, shit.
It's fucking dark. The guy's like, don't put me in there. They're going to kill me. And then he dies. You see him die. Like, you see the whole like prison yard, like whole like, I'm gonna pass this off to you. All right, cool. Now I'm going this way, and then
man, I just want to say, fuck WB. Like, man, like you make people think that Zack Snyder's not good at what he does.
Why does Zack Snyder? Here's the real problem. Why does Zack Snyder continue to work with this company? Because he loves DC projects more than anything on planet Earth. And he even said in an interview this week, he was like, I've never spoken with Kevin Feige. I'm like, that's so strange.
Yeah.
Like, but I love everything he does. I think what they're doing over there is genius. You're like, of course it is. Like, when he says it, you're like, oh my God, yay, we can all be friends. Like, yay, everybody's fine. And it's so securing to hear that from a creative as powerful as his voice is. I actually saw a funny video this week of, I don't know if I put this in our group chat, but of him being at a stand-up comedy show. And he, like, does group work. Like, the comic was doing crowd work. And calls on Zach. And, like, starts having this conversation. And they're like, yeah. He's like, what do you do? He's like, oh, I'm a movie director. He's like, oh, movie director, folks. Big deal over here. Done anything I've seen? He's like, yeah, I do a couple. What's your name, man? He's like, Zach. He's like, what kind of movies you make, Zach? He's like, big movies with, like, people in caves. He's like, Zack Snyder? He's like, it becomes like a whole thing. Like, yeah. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, did I just blow it? He's like, boy, did I just blow it, folks. Like, he's really, the comic was really good. And
you'll need to send it again, even if he already did.
But he's so genuine.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, like, people really, like, had a really hard time with in the moment. And because here's the moment, if I remember correctly, I was living in San Francisco, splitting a bedroom with another guy for $700 a month. Like, just hanging out with Guy and I met her a year before that, and we're like, what's going on? And I'm like listening to podcasts just to, like, stay sane, and the world was crazy. My world felt crazy. It was like 2017. No, it was like 2017 when that movie came out. The world was a little crazy. And then all of a sudden, Joss Whedon is taking over Justice League, and you're like, what the is going on here? Like, this is crazy.
You're like, is it gonna be Avengers, or is it gonna be Age of Ultron? All of a sudden,
he's also directing and writing Batgirl. Like, there's just like, DC was just like throwing stuff at the walls. Like, it was just so crazy. But they just never trusted Zach to just, like, do what he was gonna do. This movie could be two movies. Where the first
that's what he wanted to do originally. He wanted to do 2 Justice League movies. The
first fight with Darkseid could have been as big as the last fight with Darkseid, where all he needed, and Zach, I'm not going to tell you how to make a movie again, but there's, like, you need all 3 mother boxes for the fortress to take form, right? Mm-hmm. You only need 1. What if you only need 2, right? Like, what if you only need 2 mother boxes to make that thing really big? And you can't get the 3rd one till the next film? Like, that's kind of cool too, but this movie is kind of like, it still has the moment where they fight Superman, and then all of a sudden they look over and Steppenwolf has taken the other mother box. That's no different. Like, they still just, like, look over the fucking parking lot and they're like, oh no, like, because Superman's gone. Like, Superman sees Lois, flies off with her, almost beats Bruce to a fucking pulp. It is lit. He throws Bruce into a cop car. It is awesome. Like,
What's your superpower again? I'm rich.
I'm rich. Still the best line of the movie. It's my favorite moment in comics in comic media in the last decade. This is TVs, animated movies, and real movies. So Justice League War. It's a conversation in the sewers between Green Lantern and Batman. And Batman, like, just walks by, and as Hal is just, like, talking his ass off, and it's like, this is an impenetrable ring. No one could ever take it off my finger. Fucking Bruce just slips it off, and it's like, how does it work? Like, he's just like looking at it. Like, how does it work? Like, he's just already messing with it. He's like, hey, get that back! And he just snatches it back. And Hal's like in civilian clothing, and he's in his jumper for his flight suit. Puts it back on, and he's like, what's your superpower? What do you drink blood? You hang from the ceiling at night? Don't tell me you're just a dude in a bat costume. Bruce, over the shoulder, goes, turns his head, and walks away. And it is perfection. It is just like, oh my god, this guy is psychotic. Because he just watched him beat the shit out of a parademon. Like, he just watched him do it. Like, he's like, this guy's crazy, so he thinks he's a big deal. He's like, he didn't need me to beat up one parademon, so clearly he's not your average ordinary dude, but he's just a little rich, and he just likes to go cave diving, Mr. Wayne. Cave diving.
And then I think my last point to the parts that I've seen so far is that, like, WB and Josh Whedon really fucked up the shit with Ray Fisher, because, man, the scenes that I'm seeing so far, like, oh my gosh, I'm just like, man, y'all fucked up. Like, he so far is the heart of this movie, and I've only seen an hour and a half of it. And it's just like, I can't wait to see the rest of the movie and see, like, his full arc. But I'm just over here going, man, what was the reasoning for taking this shit out? There's no reason. Aw, look at that. I love it.
Borg life. Borg life. That's us at a Bernie Sanders event, folks. Getting down and getting dirty.
Where was that?
This was in Charleston. Bernie came for one of the Democratic, what do they call those things? Debates was in Charleston.
Okay.
And we had a watch party.
And Ray Fisher was there?
Nina Turner was there.
Oh,
Kendrick
shit.
Simpson was there. It was a party. Like, and my guy and I literally sat next to him and Kendrick Sampson for, like, the entirety of the debate.
Please tell me that you had, like, some great conversations with them.
They genuinely were, like, wanting our reactions to what was happening, because that's what they were able to, like, vibe off of, was like, I'm a very vocal person, Soul, you know this.
Yeah, I know.
The second I would hear something come out of somebody's mouth, usually out of whatever that either the guy out of Washington, where I was like, that guy's not crazy, but now's not the time for that conversation. And then it was like Andrew Yang was there, and I was like, yeah! I was like, I like him too. They were like, oh, you like him? I was like, yeah, he's dope. And all the other stuff. They just like to see what people were feeling, and that was cool to see. And I didn't ask him to say booyah, and now I'm glad I didn't, because I've heard he hates it.
Yeah.
I've heard he
good job, Colin. Good job, Colin.
Does not like it. So I did not ask him to say booyah all at once.
He probably really appreciated that.
Yeah, and I just wanted him to know, like, what it was like to see, like, because I grew up with Teen Titans, so, like, Cyborg to me is still an important character, which then inspired me. I have the whole first run of, like, the Cyborg, like, his comic, like, and I love it that much. Like, I don't read mainline comics. Like, I don't read Superman. I don't read Batman. I read.
I haven't read them in a long time.
I read Red Hood and the Outlaws, Teen Titans. Teen Titans was my gateway into comics. Like Justice League Unlimited was cool. All that Justice League. I just love the kids I could assimilate with. Like I just love Robin. Like Robin's my entry point. He's not in here, but over my bed is on my side of the bed is Nightwing. On Gaine's side of the bed is Wonder Woman.
Oh, nice.
But it's like Dick Grayson's my guy. Where it's like that was my gateway into comics, and so I just wanted like that's the kind of stories I like, and I could tell that Zack Snyder's kind of the same way, where it's like he likes a real story. Like there was a lot of realness going on in this fake story, like very, very, very far-fetched story, but still the essence of Diana being a beacon. I think that's what this story is trying to tell you about her. If you take an individual look at it, like from the second she's an inspiration to those little girls, the moment she has with that little girl, give her an Oscar. Like just give her an Oscar.
You can be anything you want to be.
Boom. That's it. You could.
That was a badass scene too, where she was just like,
oh my god, she protected everybody from
oh, what's his face?
The guy from Game of Thrones. Who's dad? Who's his dad? The guy with the dogs. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about.
Bolton.
Yeah, Ramsey.
Ramsey
Bolton. And to me, like that guy was like totally underused in the first one because he's like he's about to kill all of those kids. Like he's very like
he switched that gun to semi-automatic.
Well, first he pulls the pistol out and he's about to shoot somebody, and thank God it wasn't loaded.
Yeah, and then he was like, "Wait, this isn't good enough. Let me get the semi-automatic and then click it over to semi-automatic." Yeah,
just full on spray mode. Like, no, sir, this is not the place for that. And like, it was very poignant, unfortunately, with everything that's been going on right now in America, and it kind of hit me a little harder. Like, not gonna lie, like, I mean, I hate to say that, like, in a sense of like, I mean, growing up in this country over the last 26 years, but like, yeah, it's kind of that's gonna hit some people a couple ways, right? Like,
yeah,
that's tough. And for them to do that and then for it to end the way it does, and I still like, we need 5 minutes for Ben Affleck. Let me hear what you got for Ben Affleck, because I love him as Batman.
I love him as Batman. It was my favorite part of Batman v Superman of the theatrical cut. I think that he is an amazing Batman, and even though I know he's not going to do it, I want to see him as Batman going forward, because I think he does such a good job as Batman, and I think that like all of the hate of the Batfleck, and I'm like, no, he's the best part. He's so great. I love
Batfleck. Like I think I tweeted that like the first day.
Yeah.
Or like it was before he even got casted. I was like, Batfleck. Let's do it, guys. Like, come on.
Yeah, I'm behind Batfleck and I'm behind Battinson.
Why can't we have both?
Why can't we have both?
There's no reason we can't have both. I mean, I just love his brutality. It's exactly what Batman would be. Exactly how Batman would behave. And to me,
especially after Robin's death, he don't give no fucks anymore. Robin's dead.
Did you see that Darkseid Superman or Lois dies in the Batcave?
I didn't see that.
Look for this, because I don't know if you've seen. There's like there will be a scene where like it's Darkseid putting his hand over Superman, essentially like showing like how. Like, it's in the future scenes. Like, when they go to the future scenes, it's new stuff. Look in the background, and you can see the Robin,
oh, shit, okay.
The suit in the glass case. You can see it in the background. I
will look for that. But, any last thoughts on Justice League? I know that we're cutting a little short on time here for our producer, Ben, but... Last thoughts.
I just enjoyed it. I had a really good time. Shut up about the aspect ratio. Cowards.
It was,
Go watch TV in the 90s.
honestly,
shut up.
I honestly didn't even notice it. I'm watching
it.
Took
me 5 minutes. 5 minutes of it being weird, and after 5 minutes, thank God the movie was boring for the first 5 minutes, and then it really kicks off because it's a full image. It's a full image. You see everything you need to see. Nothing is cut off. It's exactly what's intended.
We're so used to watching things in widescreen that I'm just like, it took me back.
I watch Avatar on Blu-ray in 4:3. It's not full. It's not fucking widescreen.
Yeah, no, it's not.
It's the best cartoon of all time.
And sometimes you just want to see the tops and bottoms too. Like sometimes you just want to see that.
Well, now
we got that with Mandalorian too, where they switch aspect ratios because the crate dragon was so big that you had to switch for it to see the top.
And we got it with WandaVision.
Yeah,
we saw WandaVision, so we're prepared. That was really it. I just really wanted the haters to shut up. If you don't like it, if you don't like it, you don't like it. But people want to like something, let them like it. Now, if you like something, and you don't like people that don't like it, you need to shut up too.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone needs to realize you're allowed to like what you want to like, but don't frown on people for not liking something just because you like it, and the same goes for the other people. Because this is something that I think...
Let people like what they like and let people not like what they don't like.
Because at the end of the day, like most of the people who are talking about this stuff on the internet against one another had the same experiences growing up that drove them to this content, and now you are becoming the people to one another that used to clown on you when you were a kid for liking this stuff. So show people the respect that you would show to the content that you love. I think that's the message. I think that's the message of this story. Like you gotta just let people love what they love and tell the stories they want to tell. And if you're not on it, cool. We'll see you on the next one.
So, Colin, where can the people find you?
You can find me, as you've so nicely put below, at @the_C Morris on Twitter, Instagram. Fridays we have the High Ground with Boggs, my main cohort, and Soul every
Your dyad.
Week. Yeah, my dyad in the Force. And on Saturdays, you can catch me on John Roca's YouTube channel on the Ultimate Schmodown After Show, where we break down everything in the world of the movie trivia Schmodown. You should check that out if you haven't seen that, but I'm sure you've heard of that before because of the lovely lady to my right.
And I just want to go on and say that you can find me at Soulgoven on Twitter. You can find me where Colin just said, but also go hit up Stop AAIP. Go over there to that organization. We've had a rough few weeks with just, and I know that when hatred is being spewed against Black people or against Latinos, that other communities has come to our defense. And so I just want to come to the Asian people's defense and Pacific Islanders defense too. So go check that out. And then also Schmodown, we had 2 Asian players win in that pay-per-view. You had Paul Oyama and you had Andrew Dimalanta, and they were like, we did it for the Asian people. So it was something needed in the community, and I hope that everyone just stop hating people and go check that website out and do what you can. There you go. So goodbye, everyone. See you next week.